Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Mikhail and Sherna Get Fit. My name is Sherna,
My name is Mikhail.
and together we are Mikhail and Sherna Get Fit. Now this episode is a very special episode because it marks 10 weeks since we've been on our podcasting journey and since we've been on our fitness journey as well. And because it is our wonderful episode 10, we have a very special guest with us today. Mikhail, do you want to give like a quick introduction on the guest?
Yeah. So his name is Victor Timothy. He was a pro basketball player. He's a Seventh-day Adventist. And he's been married for 25 years. He has two lovely children. And also he's at Tobago and Madrid. So he's back in family.
Yeah, and this conversation is something that we want everyone to listen to because it essentially follows his transition from being a professional basketball player in his youth, eventually stepping down, and that journey for him. The thing about this episode that really touched the both of us is he uses fitness as his medicine. And that is something that is truly mind-boggling. We never thought about it that way, and we can't wait for you guys to hear the helpful tools and tactics that he suggests within the episode. So we can't wait for you guys to listen to it. Welcome back to Mikhail and Sherna Get Fit. So I want you to just take us back to the beginning, kind of. What first got you into fitness and sports?
As a child, very small.
Yeah.
I remember when my parents sent me to the grocery corner shops
Yeah.
back in Tobago.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to come back before time. You know, I like that excitement to say, oh, you have done that so quick, you know. So I always used to run, you know, go get it fast, come back. We go to the garden to get something. I always like to run and come back quickly. So I think that was one of my main motivator in terms of getting fit. And I always like to win.
Yeah.
Right? So that energy to win
Yeah.
was always there back in school days. And from primary school, I was always involved in sports, cricket, you know, hardball cricket, windball cricket, football. And then at secondary school, you know, I was introduced to basketball.
Right.
All right, I get involved with basketball. I have an elder brother who was involved in basketball, so get to love the sport and start playing it from then on. So that's the beginning of my journey.
I'm very curious to know, like, what made you pick between cricket, football, and basketball?
I got to love basketball because of the athletics, the jumping, you know, because and there's always a height to meet in terms of achieving, like dunking, reaching up to the ring. And you know, as a youth, you know, among your friends, who can jump the highest? And there's always that determination to outshine one another. Just to dunk the basketball to get up to that ring, that height, was a great achievement.
Nice satisfaction.
That was a satisfaction. So I kind of gravitated more to basketball.
How did you move from playing in secondary school to professional levels, yeah? I want to know that.
Well, at secondary school, that's Harmon, Tobago. Now, I'm proud to be
Me too.
a Harmonite. All right. And my parents supported Christian education, so I went through the primary school, also SDA primary school.
Yeah.
And so at that transitional level, when I was finished with secondary school, you know, we had a local village team at Bethel, Tobago. And my brother was involved in that, and one or two of my friends. So that encouragement was there to go on the court, and, you know, and then you get away, you start looking at the NBA, basketball on TV. And in the days at Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, and, you know, that was a kind of, give you a kind of impetus to get involved, to learn more about the game, you know. And, you know, we used to be on the court bare feet, you know, that sneakers and all these things. So, you know, you just have that energy and excitement to play the game. So, and then by doing that, you learn certain things from the guys that are, you know, the adults. And there are different leagues in Tobago that they were involved in. And so we start looking at the league, and you want to be a part of the team. And then there are certain skills that you develop, and you think you can do this.
Yeah.
Right? And then you get involved, and then some of the adults will groom you in. And then after that, you start training with them, and then you start developing. And I always want to be fit, always wanted to be fit, you know. So I used to train double just to make the team. So that was the way I transitioned from, school into the pro aspect. And I also I participated in the Tobago under 19 team at that age. Yes. So, and then we came to Trinidad with that team, and we were involved in a basketball league, the under 19 stage. And then I learned to develop the skills, the basics in basketball. So, and then that's how I then transitioned into the senior team. So, and by that time, so for about 9 years, 7, 8, 9 years, I played at that level and keep improving.
You mentioned something with the coaching though. Like you said, the older guys were coaching or teaching you. When I was back in CUC training, is my teachers who actually taught me. So how that experience was for you though? Was it like older players who were teaching you?
Yes, well, definitely. So, and there are some particular guys who, were patient with us as the younger ones, will pull us together, encourage us to come earlier. I mean, we didn't have lights in the night.
Oh my
so
gosh.
It's a hustle to get home and get on the court by 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, come home from school. Yes, so it was always an excitement because by 5 o'clock, the older guys are there and you wouldn't have the chance. So you use that time as much as possible. So some of them used to pull us aside and, show us little tricks, encourage us, and then pull us together, sometimes small team to play against the bigger guys. So that encouragement and that mentorship was always there, and that encouragement. And all now they are happy to know that, we have come up and taken over. And then we also pass that on to younger players, to come up and, to have that level of discipline.
Yeah.
So
you ever had like a humbling experience with that?
Well, yes.
Everybody does.
It's really amazing when you achieve certain things and people recognize you.
Yeah.
And to know where you were, where you have accomplished, it's really a humbling experience. And outside of that, on top of that, I should say, was my spiritual experience.
Yes.
All right. I think that is the foundation of whatever achievements, whether it's physical, whether it's mental or spiritual. God is on top of everything. So I give him thanks, because without health, you cannot achieve these things. So I give him thanks for that, and I encourage people to, to keep trusting in God. That's my major motivator in everything.
I think like something I actually kind of wanted to ask you is, what was the hardest thing for you to do when playing basketball? Because for me, I'm a baby basketball player. Mikhail trains and teaches me how to do it, and the hardest thing for me learning it was learning to bounce the ball. I think it's called dribbling. And then the other thing was actually doing a layup. To this day, I can't do a layup. It's the hardest thing in the world. So for you, I'm very curious to know, like, what was the hardest thing for you to do?
Well, for me, was shooting.
Really?
Shooting the basketball.
Okay.
Yeah, really.
Because in shooting, there's a lot of mechanics involved.
Really?
In shooting, yes. It looks simple.
It looks so simple.
But there's a lot of mechanics. And once you learn the basics and you have people to show you the basics in shooting the basketball, it actually pays off. All right. Once you have the mechanics in place, it's kind of impossible to miss. Yes, that's what I've learned.
Yeah.
So, but I've spent a lot of time in learning to shoot the basketball.
Yeah.
I remember at an early age, I got up early on commitment. I will get up before I go to school. I will get up about 4:30, well, after worship and stuff like that. About 5 o'clock, I will go on the court. I will practice and shoot. And I start, shooting at least 100, taking 100 shots on every morning, at least 3 mornings per week. All right, come home, we get ready, go to school, and then after school, I got into construction. So I used to continue to do that. And that paid off. After a couple of years, that paid off, So it's commitment. And just as in fitness, and that's a challenge that we all have, that commitment to be persistent. That's a challenge. It's like, just as our nature, we have a sinful nature, and to follow God's law, to be persistent, it's a challenge, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. After a while, it's difficult to, as I said, after a while, it's difficult to miss if you practice, have the right mechanics. You know, you start off about how much shots you can score, but after a while, it's how much you miss. So you look at it from a different perspective. So you're not shooting really to score, you're shooting not to miss.
Yes.
So you're counting the amount you miss. So because scoring has become normal, it's very difficult to miss after a while once you have the mechanics fit. The same thing in our spiritual life. After a while, it's very difficult to slip up,
Yes.
right? Because you're so accustomed to, you know, and you commit yourself to doing right. So you don't think about messing up because you focus. And that's on the spiritual aspect of life.
Yeah. And I kind of want to ask you as well, like, were there any moments where you felt discouraged during your journey?
Yes, there are a lot of moments. Sometimes, you know, you go through low periods where, you know, things are not working. Sometimes you play a game and it's difficult to score. You just, you know, and you become so, because you're accustomed to scoring, you know, and that's the highlight. And then nobody's commending you, you know, you're not, I mean, as human, you know, we have to be careful because we like that commendation. We like to be recognized. So, you know, there is always that challenge, and then you have to check yourself. You know, you have to go back and do it again and train. And, you know, when I joined the team, the senior team, we used to come every year. We come to Trinidad involved in the Pro League. All right. When I joined the team, there were guys on the team who were very good in the position that I have to play. So I have to get better than them. These are senior guys. So I have to train us twice as much. So sometime morning, noon, and in the night training, you know. And I usually relate this experience to my spiritual life. And I counsel young people on that. You know, my son, I will, you know, when you're persistent, you mightn't see the results now. Because you learn to shoot, you practice, you go out the future line and you practice for about a year, and you're not seeing the results. After a year, then you're on the court, you realize like you cannot miss. And this is what plays off. So in life, we have to be consistent and keep practicing. And don't look for the results now, but it shows up sometime in life later on.
So I really want to like transition into this conversation that we had when we first spoke with you, which was using like sickness as your form of medicine. And I wanted you to tell us about that, because when I heard it for the first time, I was like, I'd never heard somebody phrase it like that before.
Yeah, it's a nice analogy.
It's a nice analogy. So do you want to talk about that just a little bit?
As I grew to love basketball.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to sleep with my ball. You know,
Yeah,
that's yes. I everything I do that. Now, when you're done with the flu or some form of illness, I will turn to my ball.
Really?
And besides pray and, you know, you invite God in your life and ask God for guidance. But I turn to my ball. If I'm down, I will take my ball and I will fight. I will go on the court. So that's like my medicine, right? It keeps me going. And the more you do that, you build that resistance, all right? Your immune system is strengthened. So the fitter you are, the less prone you are to certain disease, or you wouldn't stay longer in bed. So that's why I will say that this is my medicine. So when I feel down, even though I feel down or depressed, I take up the ball and I find a court. If I feel sick, you know, so it also impacts my life, not only physically, but mentally. All right? Because your mindset, when you're doing something you like, all right, even though at this age I would not be able to do as much, I can attain that level of fitness, but at least when I'm finished, I'm sweat, you know, you accomplish 100 shots and stuff like that. There's this feeling of satisfaction. And then when you're in the court, and most times I do it on my own, you know, your mind is set free from the stresses of life. you're able to think, you're able to make decisions. And I usually, the Spirit speaks to you while you are doing certain things. You see, when you're physically involved, like in the garden, or you're probably mixing some concrete by yourself, the Spirit speaks to you and you get certain revelation. You see the love of God. So I inculcate that in my, trying to remain fit, whatever I do. I try to inculcate that. So it brings that satisfaction. So it's like a medicine to me. So it heals. It's a form of healing to me. Right? That's how I see it.
I think like there are a few people who may see fitness as like a lot of work, because I do think it's very hard to get into fitness when you've been out of it. Because I had lost quite a bit of weight back in 2023. I gained the weight, and the journey to get back fit was like kind of sluggish, if that makes a little bit of sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think once it is you stop, it can be harder to start back. And then when we miss days on the court, I tend to miss a lot of hoops, and then I get upset and then I get sad. And then I go, this isn't fair. And he is getting all of the hoops, because it makes sense, because he has played longer than I have. So I want to ask you, in your opinion, did you ever arrive at a point where you felt like you need it at all? Like need it in the sense that this is it, this is my peak, this is my moment, and I have done enough, I can step back now?
I think circumstances in life has caused me to move away from the professional level of basketball. Because at that time, at the peak of my basketball career, fitness was the key. I was very, very fit. And one of the motivators, I think, in terms of keeping me fit, I thought, and I go back to Christianity.
Yeah.
All right. I will keep in my mind, I will say, I do not drink. I do not smoke. I do not party. So there must be something that makes me different from the others. So they cannot be fitter than me. They should not. And it's changed. But after a while, I used to look at things like that. So when we are doing, drills and fitness, I used to keep that in mind. If I'm very tired, I said, no, these guys party, they drink, it's no. I follow God's law. They could never be fitter than me. I should be the last person to drop down. So that was the kind of mentality that I had. Because, eating right, doing these things, supposed to work for me. And that used to keep me going. So it strengthened my mind. So I kept that in mind. So, at that point, circumstances in life, when I got married in Tobago, I was supposed to move to Trinidad. So I had to give up that part, that professional part. But when I came down, I still get involved in playing, basketball, but not at that level anymore. But so I was involved in family. Well, that's life. That's how life is. Family first, God, family, and then, so basketball now moved from top priority down the ladder. All right. So I was still, fit and try to remain active.
You think that was like a sacrifice for you? Like putting God and your family before, like, did you think that it's impacted it negatively?
I wouldn't say negatively, because remember, the objective in life is about God and family. That's our objective. Train up the children, a man has to take care of his family. Man has to lead his family to God, so that has to be first. All right? Or before, basketball and different things. But this has to be first. Basketball has to take us. So it's not really a sacrifice. I think it's more an obligation. All right? An obligation. So just stepping away from something else to what really the main objective of life is. So basketball has to take second fiddle in my life now and down the ladder. Other things and education and stuff like that work. So that's where I am. So I don't think I reach a stage where I said I had enough of basketball.
Yeah.
It's just that this period of my life, I have to transform. I have to change my priorities.
Something that you said that like I really want to talk about as well was like having is it the discipline, but the discernment to know that it was time for you to step away from this and be able to settle with that. Because I know that there are some people who, I know that you can't be a master of two, if that makes sense. You have to pick one. So was that something that you had to explain to people? Was it like a difficult decision for you to make in that sense? Because you moved to Trinidad and you were playing, I don't know if it was professionally, if it was on USC's team, but you played here. Did you have to do any kind of explaining? And did that make it difficult to step away, or was it fine for you?
No, it was fine. I think a couple of years ago I played with my company in this league they had with I think University League, I think.
Yeah.
Right, they had at UE. So I played at the age of 50. So people didn't believe that I was 50. I mean, I wasn't fit, but it was more for enjoyment and keep fit. Also, before that, I played with a team from Sawa, at not the professional level.
Yeah.
But, I played just to keep fit, right? But, I mean, again, time. But as I said before, because it wasn't really a decision to make to give up something.
Yeah.
Is that, this is the main objective in life. It's about family, it's about God. So when you meet that junction, it's very easy to transit.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you miss, that competitiveness in sports and basketball, but at the same time, this takes priority.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that difficult. You mentioned something earlier in terms of, when you miss out, or you miss some days of practice or training, it's very difficult to start back. Now that it's a natural thing.
Yes.
All right, it's a natural thing. And even in the spiritual realms, it's a natural thing. When you miss out your morning devotion and stuff like it's very difficult. Like I usually tell my family, the more you stay away from church service, the more difficult it is to go.
It becomes a habit.
That's right. So you have to start back, and that's the point that we are afraid of. So to start back, because you have to do it over again.
Yes, from the beginning.
You have to go through this stage. You have to, reach this level of fitness, and it's very difficult. But you have to be consistent, and that's what keeps you going, knowing that you can keep in mind that, yes, I can achieve this. I can get back to that point. All right, and I will get back to that point. And that's the main motivator with respect to regaining that, consciousness, regaining that, that energy, I should say, to reach that point again.
Something like I also want to ask you is, what other ways have you stayed fit in your personal life when you took a step back, I guess, from the basketball world to stay fit? And how did you get back?
Yes. Well, I try to maintain. Sometimes I do a lot of skipping. All right.
Yeah, I just.
All right. Skipping is very good. It helps you in your vertical jumping and stuff like that. So I skip. I do some running. A little bit, and like push-ups, pull-ups. Sometimes I try to maintain that. I remember I used to take the entire family when the kids were younger. We used to go on the court, do some running. We had a nice program, especially Sunday morning. My wife and 2 children, we do some running up and down and, and keep them fit so they were engaged. Well, they get older now, so they, all right. But that's how I try to keep fit. I do my personal exercise as much as possible. But, the main reason is that, when you get sick, you heal faster when you're fit. Whatever injury you may encounter, you tend to heal faster. Right? So I do my little thing, push-ups, sit-ups. I try to maintain that as much as possible. Times are busy now. So we are more engaged in probably studies, computers, life. That's a challenge in life now. But as I try to, put exercise and fitness in the category just as food, just as how you need food, we're supposed to prioritize exercise the same way. But we don't.
Yeah.
We use exercise as a pleasure thing. I'll go to the gym when I feel to. But you don't eat when you feel to. You eat every day.
Yeah.
So that should be on the top of the list in terms of our priorities.
I also want to ask you, is it hard to work out by yourself? As opposed to, because you mentioned that you worked out with your family or you took them on the court when you were younger, but now I only see you on the court. So I think a lot of people, it's harder to work out when you're doing it by yourself and you don't have somebody pushing you. Because I know for a fact that if Mikhail wasn't with me, I would never have played basketball, because it feels like a difficult sport to play by yourself, especially if it is that you keep missing, especially as a new person. So for you, was it difficult for you to get back into fitness on your own?
Well, because I'm acquainted with the game.
Yes.
And I wasn't it before. That is easy because I have particular routine in my mind already. All right, how much of this to be done, how to do it. I'm aware, I know how to do it. Now it will be difficult for you because you don't know how to do it. So it doesn't make sense doing it on your own, because you would not know if you're doing it right. All right. Before I knew this, I needed somebody around. I needed encouragement. I needed somebody, because you're always training. I had a training partner, that we used to go and practice together. So I practiced my defense. So, but at this stage, you know what is to be done. So you go with a mindset. So I know if I'm doing it right. I have the mechanics. I just practice the mechanics, and at the same time, I'm getting fit. All right. Like going long distance or going to the gym is not my thing. Or running. My fitness is with the ball. So when I shoot the ball, I have to run down the ball. So that's building fitness for me. All right. So that's how I see it, and that's how I do it. So I can do it alone. I can be on the court by myself because I have a routine. And also sometimes I will go down at San Juan. There are some older guys that be shooting on Sunday morning. Sometimes I go there, but if you're not fit, you don't enjoy it. Yes. So I try to keep fit, so when I go there, I'll enjoy. And fitness, once you're fit, you enjoy life. You sleep better. You communicate better. People don't understand how important that is. So, alone, I know my routine. I just go and do it, and I enjoy it.
I think for me and Mikhail, I prefer cardio as my form of working out. I know that you can't get cardio through basketball, but it's not like my most favorite way of doing it, but it's his preferred way. And I think because we had to work out together, we had to find that balance to figure out how we can both get the same results, so to speak, while doing the things that we actually love.
Lovely.
And then eventually, we would have done basketball together, because when I warm up in general, I would do jump ropes. I would do like 200 jump ropes. And in the background, he would warm up with basketball shots.
Basketball shots, push-ups, layups as well too.
Yeah. And I would just be doing my jumping ropes because that's what's best for me. And then we'd actually get into the game. But I do think that it is a little bit difficult to do it by yourself. So would you recommend for new basketball players or people who are interested in playing basketball to have somebody there and not self-teach yourself, not to be self-taught?
Yes, well, it's recommended because you need to learn the game from professionals, from coaches who know the game. Well, we also have the internet, we have YouTube, we have all these things, but learn the basics for young persons coming into basketball. Learn the mechanics, how to dribble the ball, how to shoot the ball. Learn the basics first. And when you master the basics, then you can do other things. All right. But a lot of people just, because you have the ability and but you need to learn the basics. The basics is what will take you through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing to but just to add to that, another basketball isn't a sport to play by myself. It's a team effort.
Yeah.
And in relation to when it is I did my own training, I was by myself. I didn't really have like a family or brothers to play along with. They used to come sometimes, but not all the time. So like, how did that make you feel though? Like, and how did you like when it is you had to play with other people, how did you like shut up? Did you like shut up play with somebody else, and how did that keep you disciplined?
Yeah, I did. You know, you learn from others.
Yeah.
You sit and you look at how, you know, the senior players, how they do certain things. And then you take from that and you go and you practice by yourself. All right. Basketball is a team game. All right. And to fit the team, you need to understand the teamwork. Individual, practicing the mechanics, dribbling the ball, shooting, that's individual. Jumping, you can do that on your own.
Yeah.
How do you mesh that with the team as a game now? All right, because everybody cannot score the ball at the same time. One person had to do it at the same time, even though 5 persons are on the court. All right, so there's another level of learning and wisdom that you need to adapt and adjust to in terms of teamwork. How the team is set, the different positions on the court, what positions you're playing. We talk about the timing and the movements to pass the ball. So when you're practicing on your own, you can't learn to pass the ball. You have to do it with somebody else.
Yeah.
So there are certain things that are called for where you need to practice with somebody else, and that's team game. And the coach is responsible for meshing all the different abilities and talents, meshing them to achieve one particular goal. So you need that team practice. You must do that as a team because you're playing as a team. But as an individual, you have a responsibility for your fitness, a responsibility to develop the mechanics and the basics. You have that responsibility.
I do also kind of want to ask you, like, we spoke about patience and how your coaches were very patient with you. Do you think that a lack of patience can completely deter somebody from wanting to work out in the form of like basketball as their medicine, so to speak?
Yes, it is. Because especially if you have achieved a certain level, it's very difficult to wait on somebody else. As you mentioned, as a couple, you know, you do the same thing. You're doing the same sport, but yet you're at different levels, right? So I know about that because sometimes my wife will come and they will come on the court. She will come on the court.
I can relate to
that. All right, but my workout, or sometimes we go exercise, we walk and stuff like that. But my level of fitness is different from hers. So, but I have to reduce the amount of my exercise, the intensity of my exercise to accommodate her and try to pull her at the same time.
Yeah.
So I cannot just run off because I accustomed running off and be fit. I have to wait. So I have to learn to balance that now. So I have to do other things to make up while we work together. So if I am on the court, if we're on the court, she's shooting around, I have to reduce the amount of shooting. But at the same time, I might have to run down the ball to bring it back forward. That will make up. All right. So that's how it is. So you have to have patience. And patience is virtue. And as the Bible says, here are the patience of the saints. Here's the patience of the saints. So if you don't have patience, you can't go to heaven anyway.
True.
You must have patience to keep God's commandments. So that's why the Bible says, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and have the faith of Jesus. So we have to develop patience and accommodate, and then the children also brings that extra level where now you have to realize what patience is all about. Right? So it's not you alone anymore. The same thing as playing in a team. It's not you alone anymore. So you have to wait on others to reach up to a certain level. You have to give them that opportunity. So for young people, or if you're encouraging young people, you have to be patient. You have to remember where you were and the different steps. But teaching is patience are the next thing.
As you kind of like wrap up this conversation, so it's a beautiful conversation, do you have like any key things that you want someone to take away from this whole conversation? What is like key points you want somebody to take away?
All right, so I believe God is the key.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Even though I engage in fitness, I will come and get a little sweat. You know, I will, just a little prayer. Father, help me to enjoy this. Help me to get a good sweat. Sometimes you go and work out, you take a run. Probably you go in the garden, you're doing a little work at home. As I always say, Lord, help me to get through this. Help me to enjoy this. Keep God in mind. Remember that He's the one who gives you life, health, and strength. And whatever I accomplish in fitness, it should be used for His glory. So my fitness should be used to assist someone, somewhere else, somehow else, right? And that's my concept in life. So because God gave me strength. So it's not just me. I'm not just doing this because I want to get fit. There is something beyond this, because all things work together for good to them that love God. So I want to encourage anyone in fitness. Ensure that you remember that God is the one who is responsible for health and strength. And whatever you do, whatever you accomplish, it should be used for His glory. So it's all about soul winning. It's all about spreading the gospel. So that's why I want to be fit. That should be my motivator. So whatever happened, I would not be disappointed. So God be praised.
That was such a beautiful episode with Victor Timothy. Guys, that was totally unscripted, and it was just such like a great flow of advice, especially using Christianity, Adventism to basically be the backbone of your fitness journey. Like
A lot of wisdom.
I actually really love the conversation. We had our outline at first that was not shared with him, and he just hit every single need on the head without us even having to ask any questions. I was scrambling, like, oh my gosh, what did we say? But it was such an amazing conversation. And at this time, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. Mikhail Sherna Get Fit is truly, truly our baby project. It started off as a general joke between Mikhail and I, where we were just like, okay, we want to do a squat challenge with me. And now it has burst into this project that we call Mikhail Sherna Get Fit. Well, thank you guys so much for watching and being a part. Don't forget to check out the show notes for all of the links to our social media handles. And if it is that you have an idea of any other topic or guest that you'd like for us to speak with, you can check out the show notes. There is a Google form there where you can submit your requests that we read all the time. So thank you guys so much for watching. And before I close off, do you have anything you want to say?
What I'll say is that Victor used God as the center of everything.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
And I let him speak, and I kind of spoke to man reminding me, hey, with everything that we do, we should use God and have some form of structure in everything that we do, and not just go through life or just moving. Let's go through some structure. That's what I want to add.
So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Peace out.